going to have a look at this here. So the first one, just labeling sides. Hypotenuse is the first one, opposite the right angle. Opposite, adjacent. Hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. Right angle. Hypotenuse, opposite the angle, adjacent. The right angle. Hypotenuse, opposite, the other one adjacent. Opposite the right angle. Hypotenuse, then it's the opposite and the adjacent. And hypotenuse, and opposite the angle is the opposite, and the other one is the adjacent. Now, I have to find the trig ratio in this question, these ones here. So A and B are the questions, so I'm just labeling, the sides you want. C and D, E and F, H and G. Now, I'm just going to write out SOHCAHTOA once to save me writing it out every single time. O and H are joined here for S. So it's sine, angle, opposite over hypotenuse. A and O, over here, tan. So it is tan, here. So tan is in order, opposite over adjacent. A and H, cos. So it's cos the angle. I made that mistake I keep telling you not to make. Tan the angle is opposite over adjacent. Write it out a bit better. So tan the angle, opposite over adjacent. Cos the angle in order is A over H. A over H. And over here, I've got O and H. They're together for sine. So sine the angle is O over H. Okay, so let's try a few of these now. Hypotenuse, opposite the angle, adjacent. I know this, I want this. A and H, cos. So cos the angle is A over H, adjacent over hypotenuse. So cos 65 is A over 15. Bring your 15 across and multiply. So 15 cos 65 is A. And just straight in your calculator, 15 times cos 65 gives you 6.34. Number 8, hypotenuse, opposite the angle and adjacent. I want the opposite and I know the adjacent. O and A is joined for tan. So tan the angle in order, O over A. Make sure it's small a for angle and capital A for adjacent. So tan 35 is opposite over your adjacent. Bring us across and multiply. So 8 times tan 35 equals the side B. So 8 times tan 35 is 5.6 centimetres. I always start with the right angles, you notice. Opposite, it's the hypotenuse. This is the opposite. The other side's the adjacent. I want the adjacent, I know the hypotenuse. A and H is in the middle. So cos the angle is A over H. Cos 23 is A over H. Bring us across in times. So it's 12.8 times cos 23 equals C. 12.8 times cos 23 gives you the side to be 11.78. Opposite the right angle, opposite your ordinary angle, and the other side. You want this, you know this. O and H. It's up the top there together. Sorry, it's up the top there for sine. So sine the angle is opposite over hypotenuse. Sine 30. Opposite over hypotenuse. So bring this across. 50 times sine 30 equals D. So 50 times sine 30, just in your calculator, and D is 25 centimetres. Okay, I'm going to try the next 4 over here. Opposite your right angle, opposite the angle. It gets very, very repetitive. And adjacent. You know the adjacent, you want the opposite. So we'll just write SOHCAHTOA up here so we can see it. SOHCAHTOA. O and A is for tan. So tan the angle, opposite over adjacent. So tan 80. Opposite is E, adjacent is 6.2. So it's 6.2 times 80 equals E. So just straight on your calculator, 6.2 times tan 80. giving you 35.2. Number 12, hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. You know the opposite and you want the hypotenuse. O and H is together here for sine. So sine the angle opposite over hypotenuse. Sine 57, opposite over hypotenuse. This is one of the ones where what I'm looking for is in the bottom. So you must bring it up first so it becomes a multiply, because you can't find anything in the bottom row. And bring this over and it becomes a division. So 16 divided by sine 57 gives you 19.1. 2 to go. Hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. You want the adjacent, you know the opposite. O and A. We're back to tan again. So tan the angle opposite over adjacent. So tan 35, opposite over adjacent. This needs to move up so it becomes a multiply. So it becomes G times tan 35 equals 17. And then bring this across so it becomes a division. 17 divided by tan 35. So it's 17 divided by tan 35 gives you 24.3 centimetres. And the last one, you'll be glad to know, hypotenuse, opposite and adjacent. You know the adjacent, you want the hypotenuse, A and H for cos. So try and make it a bit easier to follow. So cos the angle, following the order, is A over H. So cos 40 is A over your H. So bring this up, becomes a multiply. And bring this all over and it becomes a division. So it's 24 divided by cos 40. So 24 divided by cos 40 gives you 33.3.